Hey, welcome back to session 2 for Unit 4, multiplying and dividing whole numbers and decimals. So again, go to your Google Classroom math assignment on Unit 4, go to the Unit 4 notes. So in session 2, we're working on more strategies. So, yep, that's what it says, Module 2, more strategies. So, let's get down here to session 2. Okay, so take a look. I've done some of this. You're going to do some of this on your own. And then anytime that you feel like you have kind of understood what's going on, you can start on the homework or the classwork, which is the product game, workplaces, or in your student book, the product problems on page 115. So anytime you feel like you're getting this, you can stop it or come back to it later and go and get started on these things. Maybe you'll have a challenge, so something will be more challenging here, and then you can come back to this video to get some more ideas about how to solve those things. Okay, so let's take a look. So we're looking at, again, strategies. These strategies are different ways of solving a problem. And the goal in this unit really is for you to have more than one strategy for solving, multiplying, and dividing whole numbers and decimals. Because why should you have more than one strategy? Well, sometimes, whether it's a word problem or the way that the question is written, sometimes it might make sense to use one strategy more than another. For example, you might want to use the doubling strategy in one time and then use the power of 10 strategy later. Or you might want to do a combination like power of 10 and then subtract. So it's good to be able to use these different strategies by themselves, but also putting them together so that you can solve these problems easier and faster. Okay, so this one doesn't really have a story about crayons or boxes or anything like that, but you could say, okay, 10 boxes and each box has 18 crayons or something like that. But right now this is just math. So 10 times 18, how would you do that? What strategy would you use? So here, we set up a ratio table. So I know that 1 times 10 is 10. So 18 times 10, which is the question, 10 times 18, 18 times 10, I know that I can use the power of 10 idea, or the power of 10 rule, or the power of 10 principle, and say that I know that if I multiply any number times 10, I add a 0 at the end. And adding a 0 at the end the idea about that is that you change the place value, right? This 8 is in the ones place in 18, but when you multiply it times 10, it's not in the ones place anymore. It is in the tens place. It's 180, 8 tens. So you've changed the value or the place value of that number by multiplying times 10 and adding that 0 at the end, right? So that's a pretty simple one. That should be pretty much in your brain by now. Any number times 10, you know the rule or the principle, and you can apply it by adding 10, or adding a 0 at the end. 5 times 18. Can you do that one easily? You might be saying to yourself, okay, well, I know that 5 times 8 is 40, and then 5 times 10 is 50. Yeah, you could do that. But you could also use the power of 10 idea and then half it. So again, we know that 10 times 18, like we set up here, is 180. We also know that 5 is half of 10. So we can use this power of 10 idea to take us up to 180, and then using the halving idea to take half of that number. So 5 is half of 10, so we can do the same with 180. Half of 180 is 90. And if you were to use the other strategy of 5 times 8 is 40, 5 times 10 is 50, add those two numbers together, you would also get 90. So these strategies can be used, you can use either strategy you want, but here you're using strategies that could be a little bit quicker for you, and they definitely are easier and quicker once you're starting to use bigger numbers. Alright, so let's move on. 15 times 18. Now, just looking at that, you might say, okay, now I have to do 10 times 800, 10 times 18, and then 5 times 18. Or you might be thinking about all these weird ways to do it. But you could just use the power of 10 and halving idea. So we've already done 10 times 18 is 180, and that rule is in our brain. We know that any number times 10, we add a 0 at the end because that changes the place value of the numbers. We've also used the halving strategy, where we took the power of 10, and then we took that number and took half of it. So why don't we just add those two numbers together? 10 times 18 is 180. 5 times 18 is 90. We know that 10 plus 5 is 15. We know that 180 plus 90 is 270. This is just like in session 1 where we had the boxes of crayons. You could kind of say that this is 10 boxes of crayons, and in 10 boxes of crayons there are 880 crayons. 5 boxes, you have 90 crayons. So in 15 boxes, you might have 270 crayons. So in this example, there are no labels or anything like that, but it might help you to think about the ratios. So for 1 box, you have 18 crayons. For 10 boxes, 180 crayons. That idea of using these labels to set up a ratio table might help you. Okay, and then over here you can see the explanation, the idea that we're using, and then explaining it in our own words. This is something that you're going to practice on your own, is what is the strategy that's being used, and can you explain that strategy? So there's a few more here that you're going to work on by yourself. This one, you just use the strategies that we've already used. Same with this one. Same with this one. It's just kind of a repeat of these with a little bit different numbers. These two, I think that you'll be able to, it looks a little tricky now, but once you do these three, you'll see that there's a connection between these two. So if you can't figure it out, come and see me or ask a student that you think has figured it out. It's pretty easy, but the first time you might have to ask. Good luck.